Hello everyone, I am Arnab Chakravarti. I am final year PhD student at IIT Indore. I will be talking about our recent result on upper limit on posterior H1 signal using UGMRT at redshift 1.96 to 3.58. So there are other members also across India who are part of this observational project. And we observe LS North 1 field after the upgradation of GMRT. The reason behind the choice of this field is that it is high up in the galactic latitude. So the expected galactic synchronous emission will be less in this field, and it is also up during the observational cycle back in 2017 and in the night time, so that the effect of RFI and ionospheric perturbation will be also less. We observed it in 200 megahertz bandwidth starting from 300 to 500 and with 2 second correlation time, indication time, and 8K channels, which result into 24 kilohertz. So after first round of flagging using AO flagger, we developed a modified strategy for AO flagger for this particular observation. And after flagging it, we averaged it to 8 seconds, but we did not average along the frequency axis. So to get the best resolution along the line of sight modes. This is we developed a simple direction independent calibration pipeline. This is the image of LS Northbound field where we only perform direction independent phase only self calibration. We have not performed any amplitude calibration, or also direction dependent calibration is not being applied here. And during the calibration, we only choose the during the self calibration we choose the baseline above 1.5 kilo lambda, so that no diffuse emission propagate into our model. And after getting the image, we have subtracted the 4,000 bright compact sources from our field of view, and we take the residual dataset to estimate the H1 power spectrum. So this is the only subtraction we have made during our entire analysis. There is no other thing we have done here. For the foreground, we employed a simple foreground avoidance technique where we know that the foreground is coupled with the chromatic instrument response within a wedge shape region, and the H1 signal is being searched for at the outside the horizon limit, and this is being applied or used for MW and HERA pipeline, and we tried to incorporate the same philosophy here for UGMRT dataset for the post-UR H1 signal also. And for the perspective estimation, we measured the visibility, which is the Fourier conjugate of the sky brightness fluctuation. And one needs to go to the delay domain using a simple Fourier transform along the frequency axis, where S nu is the sample weights here, which encodes the flagging, that is, it is 1 and 0 for the for the non-flagged and flagged channels, and W is the spectral tapering function to mitigate the effects due to the finite band shape. And then one can do the simple visibility correlation to estimate the power spectrum after proper scaling factor, and then this is the 2D power spectrum, and then one can average the modes spherically and get the three-dimensional power spectrum. However, there are one caveat is that we cannot do the simple Fourier transform along frequency axis because there are flagging. These yellow lines are the flag region for a particular baseline here. I am showing here, and this is the output of AO flagger. So if I do the Fourier transform on the frequency, there will be the foregone leakage into the UR window. So your window will be corrupted. So this can be thought of as a convolution of the delay space PSF, which is this quantity here, convolved with the visibility in the delay space. So we incorporated the simple clean algorithm to deconvolve this delay space PSF that is written here, which is a Fourier transform of the product S nu and W nu. W nu is a spectral tapering function. We used Blackman-Harris here, and S nu is your sampling function. So this is a simple example with a simulated visibility. We can see that if we simply use the Blackman-Harris window, there will be and there are 15% channels are being flagged, and we go to the delay space spectrum, and we see that there is a significant spillover of foreground when we use simple Blackman-Harris. But when you do the clean algorithm applied in the delay space and deconvolve the delay space PSF, then we can go to the no RFI scenario, the label to the no RFI scenario. So this is being applied to the to our data set, and then there is another problem, which is the visibility has a positive noise bias here. So if we do the simple visibility correlation, that will give you extra bias here in your measure power spectrum, which is coming basically due to the noise. So what we incorporate that we correlate the visibilities within which falls within a UV cell, whose dimension is inversely proportional to the primary beam. So the underlying assumption is that the signal is correlated within that UV cell among the visibilities. So we create a correlation matrix for each UV cell and whose diagonal element are the self correlation and the off diagonal elements are the correlation among the visibilities. And that will we will take that off diagonal element to code the value of the power spectrum at that particular UV cell, and this is being proposed long back by Bharadwaj and Shetty almost 20 years back. We incorporate the same philosophy here, and then we choose four 8 mega chunks which are relatively free of RFI, and we estimate we process those data set in our pipeline, and this is the 2D power spectrum of a 8 mega subband around redshift 3.58. And as we can see that there are foregrounds which are mostly contained within a wedge shape region. The black line is the horizontal line, and we choose the white the modes inside this white dashed region to estimate to spherically average those modes to get the three-dimensional power spectrum. So uncertainty in the power spectrum that comes because of the noise power, and in the right panel here you see that this is taken from Liu et al 2014. This is the square root of the diagonal element of the error covariance matrix. As you can see that it has a term, not only the thermal noise, it also has a foreground contribution here. And this equation is taken from Kolobanis et al, who shows that there is a coupled term which is the uncertainty due to the foreground and noise, and there is another noise term. So within this horizon limit, the uncertainty is dominated by the foreground covariance, and outside that it is dominated by mostly thermal noise. And we also found this is a noise power spectrum from the similar figure here also. This is for our observed data set, and we also found that about the higher delay modes or higher k parallel mode, this is mostly consistent with the thermal noise. So we choose those values to code the uncertainty in the power spectrum.
Yeah,
This is the
Sumit.
okay. This is a three-dimensional power spectrum, and this is the theoretical thermal noise limit. We see that we are more or less close to the theoretical thermal noise limit. However, we are almost three orders of magnitude higher than the H1 predicted power spectrum at this redshift. And then we checked upon integrating the signal coherently in the UV domain whether we get a systematic decrease in the power spectrum or not, and we see that this also follow the expected trend in the decrease in power spectrum. Then we do the jackknife test also, that is we divided the band for 4 mega chunks, and we found that it is also consistent with our theoretical expectation. And then we choose three others 8 mega subband at redshift 1.96, 2.19, and 2.62. And for all the upper panel shows you the two-dimensional power spectrum. The lower panel is the three-dimensional power spectrum after averaging the modes within the clean region. And we find that we are more or less close to the thermal noise limit. However, still there are some residual systematics left in our data set which needs to be uh, taken care of in our next analysis. And here it is the expected here is the estimated upper limit at as a function of redshift at k equals to 1 mpc inverse. And as we see that we are still three orders of magnitude higher than the expected H1 power spectrum. This is only 13 hours of on-source data before flagging. So we see that we got a fairly good upper limit for this using this data set. And then we try to find out what is the physical parameter. Omega H1 is the H1 mass density, BH1 is the bias to the underlying dark matter density power spectrum. So PDM is calculated using CAM code, and we have a upper limit on the H1 power spectrum at different redshift. So we try to find out what is the value of omega VH1 and omega H1 and BH1. So B is close to 1 in this regime, and so omega H1 is of the order of 0.09011 kind of thing. And as we can see in the bottom panel, it is a value of omega H1 as a function of redshift Z, where we see that there are different values based on DLA survey and local H1 survey and etc. And we see that we are still almost two orders of magnitude higher than this expected value from the other uh, probes. And then for the last thing, what we have not done, whether there are any signal loss or not. So we have not done any kind of modeling and subtracted from our Stokes power spectrum. So we do not We have not performed any kind of subtraction in our entire panel analysis. We have not performed any kind of weighting by the inverse covariance matrix in our analysis. Also, the foreground is not being filtered here. We just use the foreground avoidance technique. So we do not think there is any signal loss in our analysis. What still left is that we need to account for direction dependent calibration. Also, recent studies show that the time correlated gain error has a significant effect in the H1 power spectrum. That needs to be taken care of. Also, there is a polarization leakage variation of beam that needs to be understood for UGMRT. And we also have a UR data set for 120 to 250 megahertz, but there is a no beam information yet, and the RFI scenario is extremely bad. So as you can say that for band 2, there is no beam, no parameters is being quoted by GMRT people. So this is the primary parameter for as model as a polynomial. So I will stop here. Thanks.